Hi guys, I got asked the other day about transferring a multiplayer server save to single player for Ark, and that is very doable, and I thought this video might be useful for anyone who's trying to do that and save you doing a lot of searching around. Now you can transfer quite easily from multiplayer to single player and from single player to multiplayer, not a problem. There are two components to it though. The first one is the actual save itself. Now this will be the map file, it will be the player profiles, the tribe data, the dinos, any structures, any paintings that are done. That is very easy to transfer over, and it takes very little sort of playing around. All you've got to do is to change two file names. The second part is the actual config. Now the config is an absolute turd if you're going to try and use the files. The reason for that is, and this is just in my experience, maybe other people haven't had the same experience, but when I go from our third-party hosted server to single player, it doesn't have the right information in the right files. So obviously the multiplayer one won't be using the files in the same way. And obviously I can't transfer from single player to multiplayer. So what I'll do is I'll show you where those files are located, but my advice would be take a copy of the files, get the numbers from them, and then just set your server or your single player up in the same way rather than trying to use the files themselves. The first thing you're going to need to do is actually find where your saves are. So we'll start off with single player. So you're going to have to be in your Steam folder here. So mine is installed in the standard place. So that's C drive, program files 86 Steam. From here you're going to have to go into Steam apps. You have to go to common. Then you have to go to Ark, shooter game. Helps if I click on the right thing. And then from in here you need to go to your save. You don't actually need that config file there. Okay, so in here, this is where you're going to find both your map file or your save files and your config files. Your save files will depend on, or the folder you're looking for them anyway, it will depend on the map that you're actually using. So if you're just using the island, it will be under saved arks local, and as you can see here, it's the island.ark. Now this server paintings cache is whenever you've painted a dino or something like that. So if you want to have that transferred over, you need that. And any procedurally generated arcs will also be in this folder called PG arcs. Now I haven't played the center. I don't know where the center's map is. I can't tell you that off the top of my head. I haven't played it on local, so I don't know where that is. Ragnarok and Aberration have their own folder. Now if we go into here, I've actually transferred our server save to single player. Now when you look in here, the only thing that you're going to have to change is you're going to have all these numbers here, but you won't have this on single player, which is, well, if you've gone from multiplayer to single player, you won't have local player, this arc profile and this profile back file. What you're going to have to do is find your Steam number, figure out which one of these files relates to you, and then rename that local player. Now, if you're going from single player to multiplayer, you're going to have to take this file of local player and just put your Steam number into it rather than local player. That's all you need to do. And then all you need to do is just copy all of this back and forth to whichever folder it's supposed to be in. So if you're taking your server information, it goes into this folder, and I'll show you where you put that on the server in a moment. Now when it comes to the config files, for single player, you want this folder here. So within that saved, config, Windows no editor, and this here will be all of your information that you need. And once again, like I said, I wouldn't try and transfer the files. I would set them up manually using these as a guide. For the multiplayer, what I've done is I've gone ahead and used an FTP client and I've connected to our server. And as you can see here, it is a completely different file system. So this is our server here on the right. So you're looking for this ArkC folder or ArkSE folder. Inside there, you're looking for shooter game. And inside there, you're looking for saved. And inside here, you want saved arcs and config. Obviously saved arcs is going to be your map file and things like that. So you don't have a file that will say like Ragnarok or Aberration or anything like that. Now I will say be careful when you open this up, and when you're transferring it, don't try and transfer any backup saves in there. All you need is your Ragnarok.ark and your Ragnarok anti-corruption. I think you need that in there, but I would take these two. These two aren't really too much of a problem, but all of these backup saves, yeah, don't bother doing all of them. It's just going to make life difficult for you. Now you're going to see in here there's no local player file. So obviously what you need to do is you need to find your number, or if you are transferring from single player to this folder, then you're obviously going to have to take your local player and name it correctly. So that is the two folders that you go between. So you either go between your saved arcs, or you go between where it was on your local system, and you just transfer all that information back and forth and rename the files that you need to. The config for your server is under this here. So under saved, it'll be config, and you're looking for Windows Server, and this is where all your information will be in here. Once again, we found that when we're going from multiplayer to single player, the information isn't correctly done. For example, on Ragnarok, we had like the server settings were just in the wrong files. Basically, it's like we'd have like one setting would be in this file. You go down the next line, it's like, okay, that should be this setting. No, where's that? It's in another file. Okay, weird. So what I would do is, once again, use these as a template. Also, what I would do is I would copy everything over to a backup folder and then go from that to wherever you're going. It just means that you don't, if you mess anything up, you don't potentially have to re-download it all again. But that really is all you need to do. So let me just open up those folders again. Just to reiterate where everything is, on your single player, you're going to find it in your Steam folder, Steam Apps, Common, Arc, Shooter Game Saved, whatever save file you're looking at here. So either Aberration, Ragnarok, whatever. I explained that obviously at the start. And what you're going to do is you're going to take information from there and move it into here, or you're going to take it from Arcsy Shooter Game saved arcs, and you're going to transfer it from here into one of these folders. If you're going from multiplayer to single player, you're going to find your Steam ID number for the two files and rename them to local player, and that'll be a capital L on the first local, or first L of local, and capital P on player. Let's bring that up so you can see exactly what that should look like. There we go. So you just have two files like that once you're done. And if you're going from single player to multiplayer, just grab all of this, drop it into here. Obviously yours will be, if you're going from single player, you won't have anywhere near as much stuff here. And you're just going to change local player, both of those files, to your Steam ID number. Once again, I'll show you where you can find them in the description. And for your config files, you're going to grab them out of saved config Windows no editor from single player, or from multiplayer, it'll be under config Windows Server. Right guys, so that's where you find the information, and obviously you transfer it to and from. Fairly easy to do there. And then when it comes to actually setting up your save for single player, what you can actually do is you can put numbers in. So let me just fire that up just to show you. When it comes to setting up the single player, what you do is you go to host/local, go in here, and you're going to notice, for example, we've got on my Ragnarok here, we've got taming speed 4.0, whereas the slider only goes up to 3.0. You can actually put the number in manually like that into these boxes. So that's so much easier than it used to be when you used to have to play around the actual config files. You can just do it that way, which is why I would say it's easier just to do it this way. Last final note, obviously you are going to need to have the right mods on there. So you have to have the same mods whichever way you're going to do it, especially if they're structural ones, because yeah, structures go boom if you don't have the right mods in there. Right, and on the server setup, if you're using a third-party server, it should be fairly easy to actually set up the files for that, or set up the config for that. Nitrado is what we use. It's got a web interface. If you're setting it up yourself, then you probably know how to set up a server and you don't need me telling you how to do it. Right guys, hopefully this was concise enough and easy enough to understand. Just to reiterate one last time, you're just going from that, you're just taking all of the actual save data and transferring it over, renaming those two files. And for the configs, just take a copy of them so you've got them for reference basically. Hope you guys found this useful. I hope it helps you set up a server. Have fun. Catch you all soon.